Welcome to Introduction to Cloud. In this series of videos we're going to look at AWS, and then feel free to subscribe, like and comment as we are going to go on a very long journey on AWS. So today our objective is to, to equip you with the understanding of the fundamentals of cloud computing. And then what is actually cloud computing? Computing is simply the delivery of computing services such as storage, databases, software, and networking over the internet, which is the cloud. In this case, you don't own anything on the premises. You don't have a physical infrastructure on the premises. So you don't own a car. For example, you don't own a car, you rent one when you want to use it. You don't own a storage, you rent when you want to use it. So you don't own the whole system. You just rent when you want to use and then pay as you use it. It's simply IT infrastructure over the internet. It can be accessed on various devices and location. According to United States National Institute and Standard Technology, we are looking at the 5 key characteristics of cloud computing. We have the on-demand self-service. As a customer, you can wake up 2 a.m., 3 a.m. without any interaction with the cloud provider and be able to provision or allocate resources according to your business needs. We have the broad network access characteristics, which means you can access cloud resources over the network from various devices and location, over the internet, over the VPN, over every network infrastructure you have. You can access the cloud resources. We have multi-tenancy, where we have the cloud providers are able to provide services to multiple independent customers, but their data remains separate. So customer A, customer B are all using this particular cloud provider, but customer A is not hindered or doesn't have access to customer B's data. So it is this multi-tenancy. So we also have rapid elasticity, where nothing goes to waste. In case maybe there's a resources you are using per time and then your workload has reduced, you could scale down or scale up based on your workload requirement or business need without wastage of resources. We have measured service, so it is pay per use. Everything you use is being monitored, reported, controlled, and stored, and then you'll be billed according to how you use that particular service. So we have the on-demand self-service, broad network access, multi-tenancy, rapid elasticity, and measured service. We have our cloud concept, which is the cloud service models. We have 3 service models here. We have the infrastructure as a service, which allocate resources such as storage, virtual machines, and networking over the internet. But the customer doesn't control the underlying hardware. For example, we have AWS Elastic Compute, we have Amazon Simple Storage Service. For the platform as a service, as a developer, you can build, deploy, and manage applications. So it's a complete development and deployment environment. So provisioning of resources such as servers or storage on which the application is deployed to is not being controlled by the customer. We have example of that. This is the AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Then we have the software as a service, where we have access to the application. You can only change the configuration, but you don't deploy, you don't develop, and you don't change application build. So an example is the Gmail. And then we have the cloud service models, where we are going to look at what in particular does. In this case, we are going to look at each of the models, but we are going to look at what is being managed by the customer and what is being managed by the provider. So for the red, you see that it's being managed by the provider, where you are going to see red, while the other is being managed by the customer. So for traditional IT on premises, before I talk that, we talked about applications. What are applications? We are talking about the softwares. It can be online banking software that is on the cloud, or uh, on your system if it is on premises. We are looking at data. What is data? Information that is being stored and accessed by an individual or organization. It can be user information also that is being stored and accessed. It can be application data. Then we are talking of runtime. Runtime is the environment in which the program executes. So the runtime is in charge of making sure the application is being executed correctly. We have the OS, which is the operating system, which actually manages our hardware resources and is actually the platform in which the applications are running. Then we have the hardware. When we talk of hardware, we talk of physical infrastructure, your servers, your networking infrastructure, your storage. When we talk of networking, we are talking about it enables us to exchange data and communication across different cloud computing resources. So these applications, data, runtime, operating system, hardware, and networking is being managed by the customer when we talk about traditional IT on premises. But looking at these other three cloud service models, the infrastructure as a service is the customer only manages the applications, data, runtime, and OS. But hardware and networking is managed by the provider. The platform as a service, we are looking at applications, data managed by the customer, but runtime, OS, hardware, networking is managed by the provider. Then the software as a service, we are looking at applications, data, runtime, OS, hardware, and networking, which are being managed by the provider. Public cloud. Now, this cloud has deployment models. We are going to look at these deployment models. We have the public cloud. So an example of which is a public cloud is the AWS, of which we are going to look at extensively in this as we go on. The public cloud, multiple customers can share the same underlying hardware. So, but there's this logical separation between different customers. Then we have the private cloud. Then this hardware is dedicated to a specific customer, probably because of the sensitivity of the nature of the data or the compliance according to industry standard or country standard. Then we have the hybrid cloud, which contains two or more types of environment. So it can contain on-premises because some sensitive data, some organizations or individual might decide to keep some sensitive data on the premises, and then be able to use private cloud to keep other resources. So these are the three deployment models of the cloud. Then we have our technology resources in the cloud. So what are the resources in the cloud? We have the compute. It processes data, which is example the elastic compute cloud EC2 virtual machine, which we are going to look at. We have the storage, which stores data, example the X3. We have the database, which organizes data so that it can be easily accessed, stored, and processed. So it is the relational database RDS. We have the application, which provide instruction on how to process data. For example, the Amazon SageMaker using building machine learning models. And we have the networking, which transport data from one resources to another. Example, the virtual private cloud. Then we have the underlying hardware of the cloud. Now the hardware is not actually being managed by the provider, by the customer, sorry. It's managed by the cloud provider. So there's no need for data center or hardware management. There's a clear separation of responsibility between the cloud provider and cloud users, which is shared responsibility. We are going to look at that. So that's the reason why you need to subscribe. Then the capital expense moves from the customer, and then the customer or the individual or the organization are no longer looking at capital expense in buying those infrastructure. They're just looking at operational expense because they now pay per use. So real world examples, we have the Google Drive or iCloud, so which stores files in the cloud instead of your hard drive. Then we have Netflix. When you stream on Netflix, you don't actually store it on your phone. So it uses cloud servers to stream movies without keeping everything on your phone or computer. Then we have the Amazon Web Services, which I said this series will look at Amazon Web Service in detail in the upcoming videos. It hosts website and apps for companies. Now, to test your understanding, of which I'm going to drop in the comment section, is what is one example of a cloud service you have used before? Why do businesses prefer cloud computing over buying their servers? Can you use computing without being a tech expert? Name two things you do online that are probably using cloud computing behind the scene. So I want you to answer this in the comment section, subscribe, and then we are going to continue in the next video